At the start of the exam, you're going to unzip a file. You'll be given a folder like this that you need to open via a program called 7-Zip File Manager, which I've already opened here. In the folder I navigate to, you navigate to it the normal way. So I'm going to go to it and I'll show you where this is in the examination on Friday. That's the file, that's the folder I want to, and I'm going to click on extract. It'll ask for a password, so I'm going to type in my secret password, which I'll give you then on Friday. Click on OK, and it extracts the file into a folder. I've now finished with 7-Zip, and if I go into my user area, you don't use the 7.7z file anymore. You've got a folder then with your VB.NET clients or whatever the file solution happens to be that you can open up into Visual Basic. There's a little bit of time that will be required for setting up profiles and that sort of thing. That can all be done outside the time of the examination, right? We'll do that before we start the clock, in essence. Just a couple of reminder notes that June 2017 this paper is, which I've already opened, and also the mark scheme. But a reminder, question 1 or question 2 could ask you to, let's get up, there's a scenario, could ask you to complete and copy and complete the entity relationship diagram for 6 marks. Draw 2 data structure tables to store customers' data and details of bookings. And then question 4, which is all about, well, in fact, you'll be asked those 2, and then I'm going to talk about question 4 here, but it's question 3 in other ones, but it's question 4. It's worth 6 marks. Select and fully justify a method or solution for the main requirements. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at the mark scheme. Here we are, the mark scheme for question 1, entity relationship diagram here. Remember, primary key underlined, foreign key overlined, and then a one-to-many relationship. And if I zoom in, let's zoom in, it's the crow's feet for the many. Make sure client ID is clearly pointing at client ID. Plumber ID is pointing to plumber ID. Make sure that that is clear. If I look at an example of previous work, let's go to this one, for example. Not clear from this candidate that customer ID is a primary key. They might know it, but they haven't indicated it. And certainly the relationship, although it's crow's feet, is not indicating customer ID to customer ID. And in fact, customer ID isn't even referred in this bookings table. Holiday, there's no holiday ID in here. So it must be holiday ID to holiday ID via the crow's feet. They've certainly listened to that part. Okay, let's go and have a look at another one, and I'll load up, I think it is example 5, which there, this candidate, although it's a little messy, but we'll allow them that, customer ID to customer ID, holiday ID to holiday ID, they've emboldened, but they should underline. They should underline to make sure that they get the mark, so holiday ID, underline, and with overline, you're going to have a word process document in that zip file, which will just say to write your answers in here. So I would insert shape when you're quite happy with it and put an overline to indicate, again, that it's a foreign key. If you want to change the shape outline, you can make it thicker. You can also change the color of it to overline. There we are. Well, there we are. Okay. Either copy and paste or draw it again then for holiday ID. But make sure the crow's feet are in there, indicating one to many. Underlined, underlined, and then populated with additional fields for each of the tables. Which brings me on to, I think, question about data structures is easier to answer, first of all, than the entity relationship diagram, because you've got to get these extra fields. So I would start with the data structures, even if it's question 2, type them out, remembering that the headings are the name of the field, is it a key field, the data type, the length, and validation. You must have 2 different. This one doesn't get an extra mark because that says string, that says string, that says string. Now we may program it as string in section B, but this really should say a date. And then they have then got two data types. This one could have been a character. And then they've got two data types there. That one scores fine. So there's 1 mark there now, 1 mark there, 1 mark, 1 mark. So that's 4 marks in all. 2 different field lengths in each of the 2 tables. Primary key, yes, so we got 8 marks now. And 2 different type of validation rules, which seems suitable. There don't have to be validation rules on every field, but I'm going to just put that back to string. So for next time, at the moment this candidate is getting 9 because they haven't done that. Okay. Now I am then going to, let's go and have a look at another one. Let's quickly go and have a look. This one, in fact, is quite good there. Data structures. Primary key field, is it a key field, yes or no? It says key field, I prefer to see yes in there, but is it a key field, yes? 2 different data types, 2 different types of length check, presence check, format check, remember all of those, and then it says 15 characters. You can just put the number in there if you want, but have 2 different types. And again, same in the following table, which it has done, 2 different data types. Well, we looked through those previously. I'm going to use this one now in a moment to answer the later question. As I indicated, select and fully justify your proposed method. Now your marks are going to be got or obtained by the mark scheme, which is this. Oh, it's in fact, I'll go to the other one first, which is this mark scheme. Let's bring you down and to question 4. Let's zoom out. Now you need to, in your answer, discuss that your Visual Basic programming language will allow you to create a graphic user interface, because you are going to choose Visual Basic. Those of you who pick in Python, then you justify your use of Python programming language, not PyScript as the IDE or Visual Studio as the IDE for it's Visual Basic as a language or Python as a language. It allows you to create a graphic user interface with buttons, with labels, with objects, with forms that can be controlled. It allows you data structures, which is arrays, lists, and variables. It also allows you to write to and read from files. Text files, or what we've actually got is serial access files. Don't worry about random for now, but they're a different type of filing method. But file handling, serial access files, we can write to and read from using the stream writer and stream reader, and we can write to a file for permanent storage. Data structures, these lists and arrays, are good for being able to manipulate data afterwards before writing them back to a file again, and for analysing data quickly. Right? It's a lot faster to read arrays and lists because they're stored in RAM as opposed to files which are stored on the hard disk. You can also do validation, range check, format check, presence check, length check. We went on with that. And also local and global variables can be used with a high-level language and the ability to handle different data types, string, integers, booleans, characters, etc. Now, if I go and have a look at one good example of that, and then you'll be able to give that, you'll be able to use that as an example in your question. And you know this question is going to appear. So let's have a look. In order to develop a solution, Visual Basic will allow a graphic user interface editor as well as a code editor. We've got in there buttons and labels, and then VBNet allows you to write and read from files, TXT files. I'll be using the TXT files to store data such as customers, holidays, plumbers, karate teachers, whatever the context happens to be. So she's talking about the context here, but filing systems, and allows her to do a search. She's also talking about variables, local and global variables can be used. And also she talks about different data types, date, string, real values. And then she's going to finish off with validation rules, validation techniques such as length checks, presence checks, etc. And that's going to hit all 6 marks for that question. All right. Then there's going to be an algorithm question or possibly going to be an algorithm question where you're going to have to write an algorithm, and that in essence is your examination. Please email me, contact me if there's any issues whatsoever, or if you've got any questions you'd like cleared up.